Once upon a time, born in a country created at midnight, a baby girl was brought into the world. The baby grew up in her beloved valley of Swat. Time passed and the baby grew, sprouting into a beautiful girl with flowing black locks and bright, inquisitive eyes. Throughout the girl's childhood, her honorable father would often sing the song of her name. Reciting, he brought to life the courageous hero whom she was named after. Inspiring fire within her soul, he would sing, "O Malala of my wand, rise once more to make Pashtuns understand the song of honor. Your poetic words turn worlds around. I beg you, rise again." Yet, there arrived a terrible day when the violent Taliban came blundering into the girl's beautiful valley. Before anyone understood how or why, death walked the streets, fear plagued every heart, and the beautiful valley transformed into a home of nightmares. Months passed. The hopeful girl tried to save the untamable spirit within her. Excuses were given by the politicians of the country, and before long, no person knew who was in charge, the monstrous Taliban or the negligent politicians. Many moons waned, and the young girl spoke out in courage, demanding her voice be heard. Through turmoil, her life tried to settle back into normalcy, desperately trying to regain a foothold in her innocent childhood. However, all it took was one bus ride, 2 Taliban soldiers, and 3 bullets to change the tides of history. The child is named Malala, and this is her story.
Malala Yousafzai was born the 12th of July of 1997 in the largest and only city of the Swat Valley, Mingora. Her father often reminds her that when she was born, he looked into her eyes and fell in love.
Many patriarchal societies and tribal societies, fathers are usually known by their sons, but I'm one of the few fathers who is known by his daughter, and I'm proud of it.
It is Mr. Yousafzai's deepest belief that his daughter has the freedom to choose her own path in life. When Malala was born, her father had just opened his first public school. This event plays a crucial role in Malala's upbringing, because before long, Malala would toddle into the classrooms below her home and listen in rapture to the teacher's lessons. Malala's childhood shaped the young advocate she would become. In school, she gained an interest in writing and giving speeches. This affinity aided her after the Talibanization to promote girls' rights. Malala was also supported by her parents to speak up in family conversations and give her opinion. Thanks to these encouragements and not being raised to carry a submissive and modest life, she let her voice be heard. Speaking out at the age of 12, she began to write a blog for the BBC, explaining what everyday life was like living under the control of the Taliban. Not only did Malala become an inspiration for Pakistani women, but Malala's voice made it across the globe, and with it the perspective of the world has changed. In Western countries, she breaks the stereotype of Middle Eastern women, and in the Middle East, she pushes at the radical social structures set by religious extremists.
In the year 2007, when Malala was 10 years old, the Taliban arrived in the Swat Valley. Their leader was Maulana Fazlullah, who was only 28 years old at the time. In the beginning, the Pakistani people perceived no threat from the Taliban group. Fazlullah portrayed himself as an Islamic reformer and interpreter of the Quran. The people would listen to his illegal broadcasts in admiration because he appeared wise. However, soon the messages turned into strict norms that Fazlullah encouraged the people to follow. The Taliban convinced the masses that banning television, music, and dance were essential to lead a pure religious lifestyle. The most shocking decision that shook Malala's life was the ban on girls' education. Women could not leave the household without a male relative. This relative could even be a nephew who was only 5 years old. All women must wear the burqa, and once a girl reached puberty, she must dedicate herself to purdah, an extremely religious preservation of oneself. Anyone who refused or ignored these new rules was whipped or killed. In the Swat Valley, everyone was under the constant threat of being killed by the battle between the Taliban and the Pakistani government. Malala and her family were also in danger because of Mr. Yousafzai and his daughter's advocacy work. They had been threatened various times. When the Taliban took away girls' education, father and daughter would give interviews speaking out against the unjust laws. When promoting education became life-threatening, Malala and her father were not deterred. They would ask themselves, "We are speaking the truth, so why should we be afraid of stating what is right?"
The morning of October the 9th of 2012, Malala prepared for her middle exams. By the end of the day, she got into a school's bus along with 20 girls and 3 teachers. 200 meters before an army checkpoint, 2 strange men stopped the school bus. One stood before the bus and asked the driver, "Is this the Kushal school bus?" The other man walked behind the bus and swung himself onto the tailboard. He asked only one question, "Who is Malala?" Unconsciously, Malala's friends looked at her. She was the only girl who did not have her face covered. Lifting a Colt 45, the young man shot Malala.
The bullet took a path that simply cannot be believed. A bullet traveling 1,000 feet per second slips under Malala's skin. But as it heads toward her brain, that bone turns out to be so strong and curved, it forces the bullet to ricochet away and instead smashes her eardrum, severs the nerve in her face, and hits her shoulder.
Malala is flown from the local hospital to a Peshawari military surgeon. He tries to relieve the swelling on her brain. Then, Dr. Reynolds and Dr. Kayani are asked to save her life. Due to medical complications, they risk taking her on a flight to England. A week later, Malala opens her eyes. Too risky to return home, she remained in England with her family.
Malala Yousafzai was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2013, and in 2014 shared the prize with Kailash Satyarthi, an Indian man fighting against the oppression and abuse of children in India. Accepting the prize, Malala gave a speech concerning the importance of education, both for girls and boys. She points out how revolutionary the win is for both her and her fellow winner, Satyarthi. Both of them come from different cultures and religions, and yet they are both representing a friendship that can be formed between 2 countries. Malala was 17 years old when she won the Nobel Peace Prize, making her the youngest person and first Pakistani to win the prize. Even though Malala gained worldwide recognition, the young supporter keeps promoting children's rights. The prize money she received was donated to various schools in Pakistan.
Since speaking out for education, she has become an international icon. She spoke out in a country where women are oppressed and killed for being whom they are. The world would not know what atrocities occurred to Pakistan during the Talibanization. She's honest, not concealing the horrors that happened in her beautiful valley. Although Malala is still young, she inspired hundreds of girls to speak out for themselves. She also engendered admiration across the world, encouraging young people her age to speak out for justice.
I do not even hate the Talib who shot me. Even if there is a gun in my hand and he stands in front of me, I would not shoot him. This is the compassion that I have learned from Muhammad, the Prophet of Mercy, and Jesus Christ and Lord Buddha. This is the legacy of change that I have inherited from Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, and Muhammad Ali Jinnah. This is the philosophy of non-violence that I have learned from Gandhiji, Bacha Khan, and Mother Teresa. And this is the forgiveness that I have learned from my father and from my mother. This is what my soul is telling me. Be peaceful and love everyone.